Hello everybody and welcome to the Import-Export Hub channel weekly newsreel. Bogdan here, your host for the next 10-12 minutes. I hope that everybody is doing great. And guys, without prolonging too much this intro, let's start with the quiz question for this episode, in which I will cover wood pulp exports, bamboo wood pulp to be more precise, and it goes like this. So who was the largest exporter of bamboo wood pulp in the world in terms of value, of course, for 2021? And the options here are China, Germany, or Belgium. And guys, if you were like me and you would have bet on China, you would be wrong, sorry. Germany was the largest exporter with some $8.5 million worth of exports. It was followed by China, indeed, with some $6.5 million, while the third option, so Belgium, was the third largest exporter with close to $500,000 worth of exports. And now that you know this very useful piece of information, let's take a look at the Freightos index and how it shifted in these 2 weeks in which I've ignored it. Sorry, Freightos. And we have here a value of $3,364, which represents a 1% increase week on week, with big movers here involving China to North America sub-index was up apparently 11%, and North America East Coast to North Europe sub-index, who was down 22%. For the main trade lanes, we have here some interesting figures, if you ask me, at least for the Trans-Pacific ones. It seems that the alliance members squeezed the niche players out of this lucrative lane. And personally, I don't know if this was a coordinated move or not, but let's face it, from an operational point of view, this was a very nice move. I have to admit it. And now they can fully exploit the readjustments in terms of capacity management, as it seems that for both Trans-Pacific head hauls, freight rates are going up once again after a long period in which they fell. In terms of numbers, for the sub-index connecting China to North America West Coast, we have here $2,702, which is 9% up from the previous week. While for the other sub-index, so connecting China to North America East Coast, we have $6,296, which is 11% more relative to the previous week. Moving now to the crosswise sub-indexes, well, things here are sliding downwards. I think that for these trade lanes, the alliance members will have bigger issues in terms of capacity readjustments. And personally, I won't be surprised to see vessels being laid up, as blank sailings won't be enough. Again, it's just how I see things right now. Personally, I think that for the crossways head hauls, freights are going to continue their downward momentum trend until the end of the year and beyond, if you ask me. And for week 44, we had $4,755 for the sub-index connecting China to North Europe, and $4,963 for the sub-index connecting China to the Mediterranean, which in relative terms fell 11% again week on week. Moving now, guys, to another index. This time I am covering the supply chain. We have here the Global Supply Chain Pressure Index provided by the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, as we have fresh data for October, and it seems that after 5 consecutive months of easing in October, it increased moderately because of the upward pressures coming from Taiwan delivery times, Taiwan purchases, Asia outbound air freight, and UK backlogs. And basically the index went from 0.89 in September to 1 in October, which suggests that year-to-date movements are falling back to historical levels, which in theory again, I underline theory should be a good thing. Again, this index captures only three variables, and these are delivery time, backlogs, and purchased stocks. So it's outside the scope of monetary or fiscal policies, which is also, let's face it, influences the behavior of companies. So take this index with a pinch of salt in terms of what normal means. And with this index also being covered, guys, let's take a look at what happened recently around the world. And I would like to cover two things that got my attention. The first one, it's about China's National Bureau of Statistics, who apparently announced an indefinitely delay on the release of economic data, including GDP. And it seems that the announcement came during the 20th National Congress of the CPC. And my take from here is that basically they don't want to publish bad or less than expected results. And the second thing that I want to cover here from this briefing is that the United States introduced new export control measures in order to restrict China's access to certain advanced semiconductor manufacturing equipment, artificial intelligence chips, and supercomputing end users. So basically, every company operating in the United States who deals with this kind of products and or services and wants to export towards China, it will need an export license. And even though we don't have any reference here, I think that the United States will ask both Canada and the European Union to put in place a similar export license. And speaking of China's statistics and trade data, I have here some figures coming from ING Think, which covers China's imports and exports for October. And cross our fingers, let's hope this is not the last report we're reading. I'll be very, very brief here. And basically, the author of this report says that in October, China experienced a contraction in international trade because of the falling demand coming from both Europe and the United States, coupled with a daunting short-term forecast, as it seems that the demand will continue to be weak well into 2023. We have here some possible causes for this fall, and one with which I resonate the most is the increased inflation both in the United States and Europe. So not the much covered and debated COVID cases or shipments delays from China. Anyways, that's about China's import-export performance for October, and now I will move to India, as the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India issued a clarification on certain provisions to the 2018 Food Safety and Standards for alcoholic beverages, as the new order specifies that imported bulk alcoholic shipments for the purpose of further processing and manufacturing will be exempted from alcohol percentage content parameters, which right now are mandatory for finished alcoholic beverages. And of course, for the rest of the requirements, like, I don't know, product safety, labeling, or testing, the current requirements will remain in place. So that's about alcoholic imports for India. And very, very briefly, guys, I want to wrap up this video and recommend you two articles, both coming from containernews.com. One covers the COSCO's investment in Hamburg terminal, as the German government finally approved it, and of course it stirred a lot of criticism both in the United States and Europe. But at the end of the day, as Mr. Friedman says, the business of business is business. So that's about the first article. And the second article is a nice sum up, if you want, of the current container market, from, I don't know, time charter rates for container vessels to new build orders. So if you're interested to see what some industry analysts are saying for the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023, I highly recommend you to take a look at this article. And guys, with this being said, that's all for today. I hope I've managed to put you asleep. Thank you all for watching. I really hope that you've liked it. And as usual, until next time, keep your business safe. Thanks.